So in this tutorial, we're going to take a look at lists in Python. Now, lists are basically a more complex data type or data structure in Python. Basically, they hold a list of objects in Python. So it could be a list of numbers. So I'll write a list of numbers out here. So the name of the list will be numbers, and we use a square brackets to indicate we're making a list. We could have 1, 3, 7, 9. We could have a list of strings. So let's just say animals, and the strings are going to be, let's do dogs, cows, horses, cats. And it could be a list of anything. It could be a booleans. So you could just do a list of true, false, false, true values. So essentially a list just groups together different objects or anything in Python. So you could actually have a list of lists, but we'll get into more complex things later. So today we're just focusing on simple lists, for example, list of strings, and let's just go with that one. So animals, we have a list of animals which it has 4 elements. So basically one part of a list is the element. So this is the first element, the second element, the third element, the fourth element. And an important thing to note is a list also have indexes. So list has indexes, which is where they stand in the list. One important thing to note is that in most programming languages, not all of them, but most of them, and definitely in Python, is they start off with 0. So dogs is at index of 0. Cows is the index of 1. Horses index of 2. Why is there a period? And I think it's making the period automatically. Let me just put those there then. So from this list, you can see that dogs is at the index of 0 in the list, cows at the index of 1, horses index of 2, and cats is at the index of 3. So let's say we want to access the dogs in the list. So what we would do is write the list, or the name of the list, animals, and then the square brackets, because we're accessing element of a list at the 0th index, since we want to get dogs. And let's just print that one out on the screen. Just run it. You can see dogs is printed out because we specify that we want the element at the 0th index. If we want to get horses, we would put 2, for example. And then we get horses. So a pretty cool trick in Python is that you could get a range of the elements of a list. So let's say we want dogs and cows. Now we would basically use this notation. We put the first number, so we want dogs, and then the colon, and then up to, but not including what we want. So for example, if we want dogs and cows, we would actually put 2, because we don't want to, it's up to 2, but not including. So we get this index of 0, which is dogs. We'll get the element at index of 1, and then not 2. So just think of this, might be a slight strange notation, but just think of this, the first letter, or the first index, that's included, but the second isn't, so everything up to that index. So let's run this. And you can see it got dogs and cows, and it actually put it into a list. So when you get a range of elements from a list, it makes basically a smaller list from that list. Another trick is getting the last element of a list in Python. You would actually use -1. So think of this as the negative. If you see negative sign, the list is counting from right to left. So it's getting the last element. So it's going to get cats. That's at this -1 index. And if we want the second to last, we would use -2. And then you could even get the third to last with this. So that's how you access different elements of a list in Python. We'll get into lists in depth in the next video. We'll look at methods of a list. So a list actually have built-in methods, and we'll see how to use those. Until then, I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you in the next one.